I am Jerónimo Augusto or Jerónimo Augusto, Mozambicano, South African, naturalized here in the US. It also depends who I want to be one day, depending if Bafana Bafana is winning the soccer game. I'm South African. If Mambas is winning the soccer game, I'm Mambas. So it all depends, right? In terms of it. So I have the luxury, my parents are from both sides. So I have the opportunity to basically pick and declare which citizenship I want to actually pick up. So in reality, I am a global citizen. And if you think I'm bad, it's a little actually bigger for my kids. My son is actually, his mom is half Peruvian, half Cuban. Then he has half South African, half Mozambican, and then he was born here. So he's born with 5 nationalities. So you see, the world is becoming more global and global with each day. So yeah, that's how basically it is. All right. So I am also part here in the Washington, D.C. area. I am part of and work with, we have a Mozambican community here. It's the Mozambican Community Association in the U.S. And so I work with them and we collaborate, and you'll hear a little bit more about them just briefly towards the end. But we do have a base here that can also be guidance and help for you. And we have one in Arizona too. We have one in Texas. And this is just in Boston, of course, in that area. There's even some in Canada I know of. So it's also important to have that community to be where you are. It doesn't mean just go there just because there's Mozambicans, but it is important to have the base or at least close by so that that can also happen. And you can have a background in terms of people that you can still hang out with, food, you can still have shima, matapa, everything else. Because trust me, every time we meet, we eating all the good Mozambican food. So it's good to have the Mozambican community. So moving right along in terms of our presentation. All right. It is important, like we said, that you need to start developing your skills, right? Is everybody okay with me moving forward? You're following okay so far? Show me a hands up. Tell me something. Yes. You can come off mute. Go back. Just say yes, no. We okay?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Great, great. So most importantly, you need to start developing skills that would help you start getting prepared for coming to live, study, work, and be in the US, right? I saw in some of the countries when I asked you, where do you want to study, which areas, I saw somebody put London, right? And that's good. Today's presentation is just mainly about the US specifically, but if you are thinking about wanting to go and study outside in a different country, there are some rules and regulations that are a little different for each country that you go to. So it's important that you sort of learn what those are just the same. It's not that you can't go, you can definitely go, but you want to make sure that you understand the rules and regulations for going to study there, just like we are doing today, trying to help you understand what skills, what requirements, etc., is needed for you to be able to come and study here. All right, everybody with me, right? Okay, so as we said, English is mandatory. It is important that you are able to think critically in English, write critically in English, be able to communicate and converse with people so that you can definitely be able to do whatever is needed, to help you out, study, be able to make purchases, to know how to rent an apartment, to know it's important. So here it's important that you come at least with some background of English. Now, not everybody's going to be able to dominate the language 100%, but one of the reasons that happens is that when you, for example, let's say you go and you learn English wherever you are now, in Maputo, in Chimoy, in Kiliman, and when you're learning English, after you take the classes, one of the things that you do, you go back home, and then what do? You start speaking Portuguese again. You start speaking Changan or Ronga or Makua, any of the local languages again, which is okay. And there's nothing wrong with that because you're communicating that way is good. But if you're taking English classes because you want to improve your proficiency, if when you finish, then you go back home and all you do when you go back home is then speak, you're not going to help yourself in terms of everything you just learned. You're basically going to forget because now you're not getting the opportunity to practice. Another example, you go to English classes, but you get home and now you want to watch telenovelas in Portuguese, Brazilian telenovelas. Yeah, that's good. It's important. Brazilians make good telenovelas, etc. However, when are you going to practice? When are you going to hear other accents or other people speaking English in a different way? So it's important that you get the opportunity to practice. It's important that you create clubs and meet up with friends so that you go out for tea, for coffee, and you're able to basically talk in English and practice. Yeah, sometimes, you're a little afraid, but if you don't start doing it now and become a little more comfortable with the situation, when are you going to learn English? When are you going to practice? If you have a class in your English school, there's 10, 15 of you all learning English. And because of the time, you go for 1 hour because it's like $20, $30 at a time for you to learn English. You're there. And the professor doesn't have a chance to give everybody an opportunity to practice. So you've got to create opportunities for yourself outside of the classroom after you've learned the English so that way you are ensuring that you are basically in tune, learning, practicing what you've learned. Because if you don't do that, then that's going to be a little difficult for you. Last, 2 points. One, this is also in terms of everything that we talk about, English, communicating, etc. You also have to understand where it is that you're coming to. You have to understand about the environment that you will be coming to. An academic environment is different from other places that you go and basically just do, for example, skills training, or if you do journeymanship or apprenticeship, where you're learning to be a plumber, where you're learning to be an academic environment is something totally different. So you got to prepare yourself for the academic environment. So one thing, for example, I'll tell you, when you're in high school or when you're in primary school, right? You get TPC, no? You get homework. And the next day you get to class, the professor wants to know who did the TPC, who didn't do the TPC, right? And if you didn't do it, you get in trouble. You sort of, punished for not having done that. So there's someone behind you constantly. You need to do this. You need to do this. You need to do that. Or if you use your household, your mom's behind you. Hey, get up. You got to make your bed. Hey, you got to wash the dishes. Hey, you got to clean up behind you. Okay, when you come into study from a level of undergrad, or where we say basically university onwards, you have to assume the responsibility yourself. You have to start taking responsibility for yourself. At the university level, there is nobody that comes behind you. If you didn't do your homework, you didn't do your homework, and you'll end up failing. If you didn't reach out and communicate to the professor to find out how you do things and you didn't learn something, or you were out sick, that's on you. Everything reverts to you and you being responsible for your actions. So you have to make sure that you are ensuring that you are taking responsibility. How do we start? Number one, you start like you're doing today. You're coming to understand, I want to study and I want to study in the US. And if I want to study in the US, what is it that I need to do? You're taking responsibility. So great job. Thank you for coming today. We really appreciate it. It's for you to help you. Right. But also understand it's about you, right? All the information I'm giving you, right? It's only as good as you taking it to the next level. If after everything we give you, you don't follow up, you don't look at the deadlines, you don't look at what's required, then you're not going to be able to get a successful application. So you have to make sure you take the responsibility. Responsibility is key to everything that you do. Right? And I'll just use some simple examples for you to understand. You have a soccer team, right? Because everybody can maybe relate. That's a little easier. You have a soccer team, and from a soccer team, you know that on the team there's like 30 people, and of the 30 people, you can only play 11 people at a time. So the analogy I'm making here is, if you want a spot on the soccer field, if you want to be a regular soccer player playing every game, then you need to be working hard. You need to be taking the responsibility. You need to be ensuring that you do your training. You need to be ensuring that you eat correctly. You need to be ensuring that you study tactics, you understand your players, your opponents, your everything. Because if you're not doing that, then out of the 30 players, you're going to be one of those that are constantly sitting on the sidelines or on the bench and not being part of the game. So you have to learn, what do I need to do to make myself more relevant, right? Okay, so hopefully I'm already touching some of your thinking skills here for you to understand. It is important for you to take responsibility if you want to start speaking better English, thinking critically in English, communicating better in English, and understanding the environment that you're going to come. We saw, for example, when we asked some of you, where do you want to study? Some of you put Massachusetts. Massachusetts is a beautiful place. It's nice. It's where some of the elite Ivy League schools are. But the weather? Oh, that's another story. There comes periods of time where a lot of people are not outside because there's 30 feet of snow, 20 feet of snow. It's continuously cold. So out of the year, we're talking about maybe 6, 7 months freezing weather, 8 months sometimes, depending on where you are. So it's one thing to also look up where you're going to be living, the environment. Is that where I want to go to school? So once you understand those things, then you can start applying to schools in those areas. But if you don't know what the environment is in Massachusetts, you just want to go because it's Massachusetts, you're going to have a real reality check when you get there, right? It's the same in terms of when you're thinking about this, you need to think about which universities, depending on which type of area you want to study. We asked you, what do you want to study? And that was for the same reason. My university where we are right now, or at least one of them that I work at, you could say, I want to come to Howard, and okay, that's good. What do you want to study? Agriculture. Well, we don't offer agriculture. So it's important that you understand the environment that you'll be coming to in the university where you want to go and study. So do your homework, take the responsibility. All right?